Censorship is an ass, to paraphrase Charles Dickens, and British film censorship especially so. You might sensibly wonder why we need an official body to oversee film and video in 2025. We don't have theatre, print, music or television censorship, at least not in the sense of everything having to be pre-vetted before release, and the British government's plans to control the internet do not, as yet, involve every web post having to be checked over by a state censor before it's uploaded. So why is film uniquely still subject to the whims of a handful of people in Soho Square? Thanks to a mistake on Wikipedia, a lot of people still claim that only 11 films have ever been banned in Britain. Now I wish that were true, even though it might be still considered 11 too many. The true number runs into the several hundreds. Even now the Wikipedia list is only a small number of them, and that itself is not the full story. It doesn't take into account the thousands that have been cut, often heavily, the countless number that have never been submitted for approval because distributors know that it would be a waste of time and money, and the movies never made because the censors disapproved of the screenplay. Once upon a time, companies like Hammer would submit scripts to the censors to avoid any future difficulties, and that's why their version of I Am Legend was never made. There will, of course, be the smartasses out there who are desperate to point out that the British Board of Film British Board of Film Classification have no official power to ban films. That's at the discretion of local councils, and the BBFC decisions are simply advisory. Well, you know, shut up. You know full well that most councils will rubber stamp BBFC decisions other than in a short period when movies like The Devils, Straw Dogs, Last Tango in Paris and Monty Python's Life of Brian were banned by a handful of councils around the country, or where BBFC ratings and decisions were changed in certain jurisdictions. While that still happens on odd occasions, it's so rare that it barely matters. And most films never see a theatrical release. For video, and very soon for streaming, the BBFC is a statutory body. Their decision is law. While there's the option to appeal, the system has been so increasingly rigged and made expensive that few distributors bother, especially when there's a much easier option available. See this? It's Reality Killers from Treasured Films. And this is the latest film to be banned in Britain, sitting alongside Hate Crime and Gestapo's Last Orgy as movies deemed too much for British viewers in the last decade. Yet here it is. How is that possible? Well, Treasured Films, like 88 films before them, have simply set up a US division and released the film in America. Here it is. Once upon a time this would have been a major inconvenience for British collectors. I recall the kerfuffle of importing movies back in the VHS era, which involved sending US dollars in cash or some sort of convoluted exchange payment method, hoping that it arrived and then waiting for ages, praying that your film would not be deemed offensive by customs officers who were keen to stop any unsavoury material from entering the country. While porn was always going to be stopped, everything else was a gamble, as no one seemed to know what was or wasn't allowed. But now you can order a disc like this easily from various online sources, and the likelihood of it falling foul of customs rules are slim. Yes, you might have to pay through the nose compared to a UK release, thanks to postage and import duty, both of which have skyrocketed in recent years. But I'm sure that I don't need to tell you that there are UK-based stockists if you look around. The point is that by banning this film, the BBFC have not stopped anyone from seeing it. Things are rather different now than they were in the 1980s and 1990s. Back then, a film would be available from retailers and rental shops on every high street, so a ban could at least be said to be reducing its availability to the casual viewer. But who now is buying physical media? Movie collectors and hardened fans, I'd say. I was in the pub the other day discussing a trip to FOP when a nearby lollygagger chimed in to express surprise that you could still buy DVDs. I imagine he was blissfully unaware that Blu-ray or UHD even existed. That's your average bloke, someone who only watches new films on streaming services. He, and those like him, would never buy a film like this. Banning the film only prevents it from being seen by people who would never ever watch it to begin with. Given that Reality Killers is so obscure that it didn't even have an IMDb entry when the BBFC banned it, I can't help but think that they've just done it a favour. A lot of people that would have otherwise never even heard of this are now going to buy it. If you pick a copy of this up, you might just wonder what all the fuss is about. I do recommend doing that, by the way, and not just because I wrote the booklet text. The BBFC claim that this is uniquely dangerous because it encourages, let me quote, potentially harmful attitudes such as the suggestion that victims and perpetrators enjoy violence and that women are presented primarily as sex objects or predatory killers, which is not clearly challenged, nor is there a narrative counterpoint to the sustained focus on sadism, which is frankly nonsense. Sure, the perpetrators in this film probably enjoy violence, but how is that a uniquely dangerous trait to this film as opposed to all the other movies where villains take great pleasure in suffering? As for the rest, it's a willful misinterpretation of what happens in this found footage movie from Alessandro Capone and various film students and amateur filmmakers, where there is precious little sexual violence, quite restrained gore, and nothing that's likely to deprave or corrupt. It has strong female characters. Yes, they're either victims or killers, but then so are the men. That's the nature of the beast. Perhaps it's the found footage nature of the film and that it has no clear narrative. It's presented simply as a collection of snuff movies owned by a serial killer that so upset the BBFC. But maybe there's more to this. As I said at the start of this video, what is the point of the BBFC? Well, the board is keen to make us all very aware how important and necessary it is, as well as assorted lusts for glory in the form of expanding its reach into online spaces and a bizarre scheme to start certifying films for the whole world, presumably something that other censorship boards will not be allowed to do for the UK releases. A ban lets us know that we still need our censors to protect us from the worst excesses of cinema, like this. Otherwise, we might reasonably ask why physical media distributors are not allowed to simply self-certify using BBFC certificates, as Netflix and other online platforms can. At £9.33 a minute for physical releases to be certified, the BBFC costs are another reason why many films never see a UK release. It's simply not cost-effective to release a film that has limited appeal when you need to spend another £1.50 just having it passed by the censors. Probably more than that, because all your extras, including commentaries that are not even video recordings, are supposed to be certified as well. Let's at least see a levelling of the playing field, if nothing else. Anyway, I'm interested to know what you think about this. Have you seen Reality Killers? Do you think that there's any point in the BBFC in this day and age? Let everyone know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.